What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to Jam with Jock. Today I've got a template here, which is my current setup, and I want to show a few different features that you guys can use in your Ableton templates to enhance your creativity and also your efficiency. I've got a few different templates to show you today, so let's go ahead and get straight into it. So for those who don't know, you can go up to your file here and you can save templates, and you can also set a default set. So here's an old template of mine where I started with the session view first, and I'll just walk through some of the benefits of using this. Because you start in this view, you can almost just create different sections of the track. So you have this first section here, which is where I was just getting the kind of main idea down. And then because you can add different cells below. So for instance here, I've got the main idea in the first chain. And if I press this second chain, it's almost a different section of the track. I've got the kick drums out and it sounds like there's a couple of different synths on there. So essentially you're creating the foundation of the track in this view with all these different cells. I guess it takes away the pressure from being in that arrangement view, because in that view you can often tend to feel like you need to have the track arranged and you need to structure it in a certain way. But here you just have ideas. And because you can have all these different sections, all these different mains, you can create different ideas for the track. And then when you're ready to record it into the arrangement view, you just hit this record button. And if you're playing the tracks in here, then this orange button will be lit up. And that means it's going to be taking the audio from the session view. If you had different sections like this, then you would just need to trigger them each time that section before was done so that it records the next section. So essentially you could have the entire track mapped out. You could have an intro, a verse, a drop or chorus, and then an outro, and then not have to be in the arrangement view at all, because you're just going to be recording it into here and then just pressing each main as the previous one is finished. And then you can have that whole entire track recorded out. So I definitely see a lot of benefits to using this view to start off with. If you're someone who feels like you get a little overwhelmed in that arrangement view, then I would definitely recommend starting here in the session view and just really getting the foundations and ideas down first before you start thinking about the actual arrangement. So here's a look at my arrangement view template. So when I'm wanting to make a track in a kind of structured way, and I have an idea maybe in my head of what I want to do, and I just want to get things down quickly, this is the view that I tend to try and go into. I've got all of these groups ready to go, and it does speed up the process with just throwing these instruments or samples on tracks individually. And you've got all the sounds that you kind of use all the time ready to go and all grouped up. And I find it really beneficial to have these groups because for the low end, I like to mix that accordingly. So the kicks and the bass are what I really try and mix together. And then the drums I like to mix together. I've also got a different top section with which I can do some extra hi-hat treatment with the higher frequency instruments here with the tops. And then synths groups are obviously very important to have together and have nice and cohesive as well. So this is a template that I probably use the most out of everything because I liked having that structure to come in. That's definitely the benefit to having something like this. You have everything set up ready to go. But after using this for quite some time, I really crave that minimalist feel. So that's why I created that project like you saw at the beginning of the video, which literally just had a MIDI and an audio track. So if you're someone who wants a bit of structure and maybe you feel like you create these groups every single time when you're making music, then I think this is definitely a great path to go down, because if you're making the same groups and channels every single time anyway, then why not have them ready to go every time you open up Ableton? In terms of your sends and returns, if you feel like you're using a certain delay all the time or maybe a reverb, then I would highly suggest that you get some of those effects down into your sends and returns. Not only does it enhance your groups, if you're sending these effects to your groups, it makes them nice and cohesive together. It also just speeds up the process. And again, if you're using something regularly, then there's no downside having these effects just ready to go at all times. You also get a different effect than you could when it's thrown individually on the track, because in this sense, you're blending an entirely wet signal in with the dry signal. And that can create some awesome effects when you're using distortion and also reverbs as well. So in terms of setting up your project, I would focus on a BPM range. Maybe you find yourself using one quite frequently. In this template form, I was often creating dance music. So I've got mine at 128 beats per minute. And then I just started creating these groups. And I can see now I've actually got this vinyl crackle because I often like to have a bit of a texture in the background, quite low in the mix. And often I like to make my songs feel a little bit old school. So to have this kind of crackle in the background is something that I love to have on my default template because I know I use it every single time. So just to create your templates, you just go File and then Save as a template. And then you'll get the chance to name it what you like. So if you can see here, I've got a main template, which is one that every time I change my main one, I just actually replace that one. Then I've got a minimalist one and I've got an arrangement view one. So it's definitely a benefit to have these named. So if you are feeling like you want to try maybe an older one or just a different version of one that you have, then it's a great way to just be able to see what you want and just click on it right away. And then when you actually want to save your favorite one as your default set, all you have to do is come up here and save live set as default set. So that's how I've gone about setting up my templates. And I really think it's been one of the more beneficial and efficient things that I've implemented in my productions. I really can't stress enough though how much you need to have this personalized, because when I was setting up my first template, I followed someone online and so it wasn't personalized to me. So I found quite quickly that it wasn't really something that I was interested in. So really take the time to hone into what you feel like is going to get the most out of your productions. And hopefully by seeing all of these different strategies today, you can start figuring it out. This is something that I've adjusted over time. So just keep in mind that this isn't something that's going to stick from day one. This is a constant process. And I think that's a great thing to have evolve in your music production journey. Just like me, you're going to go through periods of really craving that minimalist vibe, and then you're going to be going through periods where you want something a bit more structured. And you might even go through times where you want to swap between that arrangement and session view. So just have multiple different options saved in your templates, and then over time you'll be able to change between them so easily. I hope you guys learned something in this video, and if you did, I'd love if you could hit that like and subscribe button. If you want to tell me what type of templates you use and have any suggestions for me, then I'd love to hear them in the comments. So let me know what type of templates you guys use. I'd love to hear them. As always, thank you guys so much for staying to the end of the video. If you wanted to go ahead and keep watching my stuff, then I'll just put my latest upload right up there. Until then, I'll see you guys in the next one.